All right, thank you so much, Andrew. Our next presenter for today is Paul Walsh, Chief Operating Officer of CIM. Paul, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Cassie, and hi, everybody. Let me just try and share my screen here now. Um, Sorry, 1 second. Hopefully you guys can see that now. Thank you, everybody. My objective today is to talk to you about how our Peak platform, which is the software platform we have, specifies or makes the job of retro commissioning or monitoring-based commissioning easier. And FDD stands for Fault Detection Diagnostics. So the couple of different talk about what we how our technology called Peak, how that works, what the differentiators are for commissioning companies, like what's the so what, and how our platform is different to other providers that are in the market. So the perfect storm is kind of a good analogy right now because we're seeing a lot of again, specifically in the built environment space, but we're seeing buildings that have been commissioned X number of years ago. I put in 5 years ago as an example here. So there's a gap between when the building was last commissioned and when the client wants to get re-engaged. They have seen a spike in energy prices across multiple states, so that's another pain point for them. Their availability of capex is getting tighter and lower, and sometimes it's non-existent. Some building owners are experiencing low degrees of occupancy. From the client side, a lot of those folks that don't have HVAC or BAS expertise on their books, so they are depending on consultants and on commissioning companies. They often are mandated with aggressive CO2 or efficiency or targets that they need to deliver it by, say, 2030. And a lot of the issues that the building owner is facing from tenants is around hot and cold complaints. So what their default thinking is they want to do monitoring-based commissioning, and that kind of backs them into this corner. And what we see is the current process when they do engage a recommissioning or monitoring-based commissioning program is they start with an energy audit, right? And that involves commissioning companies having to send our consultants, engineering consultants, having to send an engineer to site, fly them anywhere around the country, get them to do a series of walk downs of the plant and equipment, inspect all that HVAC right from the roof right down to the basement, and collate an issue of what they spot manually or visually. Part of that audit can be a discussion with or an interview with the chief engineer, then getting his or her approval to get BAS data, usually a recent historical data dump onto a memory stick or something, some kind of CSV or Excel file export. If that data is not available, there might be an installation of temporary metering required for AHUs, energy metering, etc. Leave them in place for a couple of weeks or months, collect the data. Then that engineer has to go back to his or her desk, create quite an intensive energy report, which can be take a lot of time and effort. Then that report is sent to the facility manager who runs the building, and that person is typically extremely busy. And then those folks getting a 50-page report to try and get that action is another thing on their to-do list for that particular engagement. And again, it takes a lot of coordination, a lot of effort. So they then have to try and get all their contractors in a room and get everybody to agree to get stuff done. And eventually things get fixed, like on a checklist by checklist basis. And then when everything gets done, it comes back to the engineer who originally did the audit to try and do an M&V report. And again, the objective of this slide is to kind of articulate that it's quite a labor intensive, quite a time intensive process. And what I would like to understand from the audience today, if you don't mind, is just to give me your feedback on if you feel that process I summarized, if it's in your experience, do you believe it's not accurate, reasonably accurate, or very accurate based on folks' experience? So we'll give that a couple of seconds for people to populate, and I'd love to see your feedback. I think Will is going to give us about 10 more seconds. All right, so he's 71% reasonably accurate, or almost 30% very accurate. That's very good. Thank you for that feedback. So what I'm here to present to you guys today is a better mousetrap, right? And what that is FDD, fault detection diagnostic software. And in our specific case, we call our software platform Peak because we want buildings to run at their peak performance. And how our monitoring-based commissioning software works is a four-step process. The first step is around the collection of the data. So we do not need your clients or your clients to install any additional metering. We use the BAS as our primary data source, and our technology can integrate with any BAS. Once it's communicating via BACnet, we install a cyber-secure data acquisition device, and it does an auto discovery of all the analog inputs and outputs, all the digital inputs and outputs, and all the set points that are floating around a building. And the bottom left graphic indicates plus 10,000 points. And that can often be the case on a large complex building. If the building has it, we will ingest any meter data. So there might be electrical energy meters, there might be gas, water, there can be thermal metering, there can be CO2 metering or monitoring. All that can be brought into the platform in real time as well. And the very tip of that data stack is we always bring in main meter data. So we get a utility, we get either a letter of authority to integrate the data directly from your utility provider, or we integrate through Green Button and we get real-time energy consumption of electricity, gas, and water if it's available. And we visualize the impact of deploying FDD on your site or on your client's site over time, because it does have an effect of getting rid of the energy waste that occurs from a building energy drift over a couple of years. And this process is quite a challenge because as everybody on the call knows, you're depending on the quality of the naming convention of the BS data points. So we've used an AI tool here to help speed up the entire process of that data hygiene piece. So cleansing the data, normalizing it, getting into correct timestamps, and to allow us to rapidly onboard new sites. The second piece is we essentially get those thousands of data points, and it just shows you the technical complexity or the multivariate analysis that each of the rules go into, or each of the points go through before it generates an alert or an action for the on-site team to resolve. And we, as a software business, have built a very extensive rules library. So depending on the HVAC plant on any building, whether it's fan coil units, VAVs, chillers, RTUs, pack units, heat pumps, whatever the configuration on any building is, the rules get deployed accordingly. Our software is solely dependent on algorithms to pick up the anomalies. We don't depend on people to do that. And the reason we don't depend on people to do that is software is very much suited to this application to analyze millions of data points every day across a portfolio and to try and detect anomalies in that. And the third phase is around the empowerment piece. So this is what the interface for the on-site operators look like. So you could have, as an example, a CBRE operator that manages a building. He or she will get notifications, depending on the priority of the alert, will get notifications in real time of what needs to be fixed. So the software is bridging the gap between what's identified and now what gets realized by empowering the on-site operators. And these guys will go, or these folks will get a notification to say, you just need to go up to this AHU on level 2 to fix the issue that's occurring. And they have the option to close that action, to comment on that action, to forward that action to anyone in their supply chain. And it's essentially allowing the real-time resolution of issues. And it's available on mobile device, because a lot of the people that manage these buildings are not sitting at computer desks all day, so they need to be out and about. And if it's a priority 1 notification, In other words, if it's a critical piece of plant, they get a text message notification to say you've got to address this straight away. And the last piece is around the benchmarking. So this is allowing the building owner or you guys as commissioning agents or commissioning companies to demonstrate the impact of the FDD platform over time. So that your client might have objectives to have an energy reduction target, or they might be trying to achieve LEED Platinum or Energy Star rating score of 90 or above. And you can put in a baseline number and you can visualize how every day, if you want, how they're tracking against that target. Again, because you're using the main incomer as your source of truth, the data from that, and then you're identifying low and no cost fixes that can get them to get the building optimized over time and keep it optimized. Sorry. So the so what moment, right? From your perspective or from the people on the call's perspective, how does this matter to your business? Firstly, it can be used as a way of reconnecting with your clients and generating more revenue from them. Like you might have had a relationship with a client 3, 4, 5 years ago where you commissioned their building. You now have an opportunity by white labeling our software to go back to them to say you now have an FDD or a building optimization software platform. Would they be interested in hearing more? It would then allow you to engage with that client on a recurring model basis, which is software as a service. So you could charge them a monthly fee for the points that they have on their BS and bring them through the platform. And again, you get that high level of engagement from your client, so you get a super degree of stickiness. So that talks about the fourth point there, which allows a lot of the clients that you're working with to participate in utility rebate programs. A lot of the electricity companies in the US are offering are demand side energy reductions, but there's quite an onerous process around the M&V on that. So being able to demonstrate to the integrator that works on behalf of the utility provider how the building has become optimized and how it's staying optimized is very, very important. And also the third point there, sorry for jumping, is that a lot of the clients out there are asking for monitoring-based commissioning, and it would be a very easy opportunity for you to have that discussion with them. It does reduce costs on your side. You don't have to send an engineer to site. You are now getting real-time granular data from each of the buildings. So you have your finger on the pulse of any buildings or any deviation from standard performance that are happening. And it allows you from an engineering perspective to increase the effectiveness or efficiency of your engineers because they can now support more buildings. And also your engineers or your technicians are not looking for basic things like passing valves, VFDs in manual, dampers not actuating. They are all things that software can and will identify very, very efficiently. And you're not utilizing your highly skilled engineers to find that type of stuff. So it reduces your cost base. Also, it delivers faster results for your clients. You are getting that real-time data, so you do not need to wait for those intervals when you get a client to site or get your engineers to site. You do not have any dependency on the third party, so you do not need to engage with the BAS contractor or the BAS OEM to get you the data in downloads every 6 weeks, 6 months, whatever that interval is. You now have a data acquisition device that's bringing that data in real time to you, so it allows you to get that those faster onboarding times for clients. And just on the onboarding speed, from the day that you install the data acquisition device on your client site to the day that you're providing actionable insights is realistically 3 weeks. And that's a very fast deployment. And again, the AI algorithms helps us speed up that. And the last one is talking about the scalability of our technology. Because it's BAS agnostic, because it's AWS hosted, because CIM have they own the tech stack ourselves, we have an immense opportunity to work with companies like yourselves to white label our technology so that it becomes a scalable option for you. Every single building company, built environment consultant or commissioning company we talk about the scarcity of good people in this space. So it means you can offer this service without having to hire any more engineers. A lot of the clients that are working with buildings see a lot of the facility manager, the chief engineer persona aging. And that once that person retires, there's a lot of tacit knowledge that leaves with them. So it's being able to get that knowledge out of their head and use our software, our rule builder to basically capture that knowledge. And that allows, and again, you don't need to be a software developer to be able to build those rules. It's a no-code FDD rule builder. And it does, the last thing the software does is it doesn't tell you there's an issue with a chiller. It's very specific. It'll say there's a passing damper on the AHU on the fourth floor, or passing chill water valve on the fourth floor that's causing excessive hot water consumption. So it tells you exactly, it tells the operator exactly what needs to be done, and they can fix that in real time. So that when your technicians arrive to site, or when they're doing a monitoring-based commissioning program, they can be super effective around their time on site, because everything will be specified what they need to resolve. And just in terms of wrapping up, the areas that were different to other FDD providers in the market is really seven specific areas. We can onboard buildings in less than 30 days because we use AI. We've done this in about 500 buildings globally and about 250 of these in the US. So we have an internal metric around that onboarding time, and it's always less than 30 days. The digital workflow is allowing people access to the platform. It's almost like an automated CMMS that allows the resolution of actions in real time and the tracking how long it takes. The rules library is over 4,000 rules now, and it grows every time we onboard a new site, because we add that rules library over time through machine learning. And the no-code FDD rule builder, what essentially that means is that you guys, or any of the companies that are partners we work with, do not need to hire any software developers or any IT resources. We do the hosting of the data. We don't. There's no limit to the historical trending and analysis. We host, or we store. We also provide a very cyber secure solution. We are right now going through SOC 2 compliance. The next one is a technical training. So CIM as a business is about 55 people, and about 30 of those people are BS or HVAC or mechanical engineers, and they support your engineering team on how to train them on the platform and how to answer any in-depth integration or onboarding questions they might have. And the last thing we do is we provide our partners with sales and marketing collateral to allow them to articulate the benefit of doing FDD with your client base. And that often can be a challenge, because sometimes the clients are unsure of how to position FDD as being something that can move the dial for your clients on monitoring-based commissioning programs. And I think that's it, Cassie. There are my contact details. Happy for anybody to reach out to me directly if you'd like a demo. And in terms of our prize, anybody wants to type in CIM into the comments. We're offering a free building audit to determine the suitability of your building for FDD, and that's valued at $1,500.
All right, thanks so much, Paul. We've got a couple of questions in the chat,
Great.
so I'll get started there. This one says, how does your platform handle junk naming or buildings with no proper naming of devices or ontology?
That's a great question. So the AI script we have will integrate probably, to be fair, 95% of the points on any building. It is always overseen by one of our senior integration engineers, and any of those points that are named funnily, or they're not named correctly, or the AI tool just cannot identify what it's assigned to. How our engineering team solve for that is they request remote access to the BAS through TeamViewer or whatever. That can be a temporary access, and we just dive into the BAS at the client side, and we find that point, and then we recommission it correctly on our side. Hopefully that answered it.
All right, next question says, can your system integrate to a CMMS to issue work orders from identified issues or anomalies, and how does that work?
Yes, so our platform, we've provided an open API, which allows us, it's a two-way API, so it allows either a CMMS that has the ability to reach in and grab those work orders and bring them back into their API. So the Maximos, SAPs of the world, they would have that ability to do that. Separately, we have integrated with Zapier that can send those work orders out to different CMMS platforms. So yes is the answer. There's just a bit of integration required.
All right.